Baby Grandma. Once upon a time a very old man lived with his wife in a little house way out in the country. They were both so old and feeble that it was all they could do to make it through each day. But they were very much in love, and by working together and helping each other, they managed somehow to get by. One stormy afternoon, as the old couple sat before their fireplace, the roof began to leak. Plip-plop, plip-plop-plop. Raindrops dripped steadily onto the floor beside them. "You know," said the old man, turning to his wife, "I'd fix that leak if I could, Grandma, but I'm not as young as I used to be." "Don't worry, Grandpa," replied the gentle old woman. "I don't mind." And so it went. Life only grew harder for the old couple with each passing day, and they, in turn, became ever more dependent on each other. Both agreed that when the time came they wanted to die together, and they knew it wouldn't be very long now. But then something happened to change all that. It started one morning when the old man was in the forest gathering firewood and spied some mushrooms. "Grandma loves mushrooms," he thought. "Long as I'm here, I might as well pick some for her." So, with his bundle of firewood strapped to his back, the old man shuffled slowly along, picking up all the mushrooms he could find. Soon he had gone deeper into the forest than he'd ever been before. "I guess that ought to be enough," he said to himself when he'd nearly filled his bag. "Now let's see. Uh-oh, which way did I come from?" The old man was lost. What's more, it was a very hot day and he was terribly thirsty. Luckily, however, as he was wandering about looking for the path back home, he heard the sound of a waterfall. He followed the sound down a slope, parting the bushes as he went, and came to a little pool. "Thank goodness," said the old man, kneeling down and putting his hand in the water. "Oh, it's nice and cold, too." He scooped up a handful and drank. How delicious it tasted! Suddenly he felt better than he had in years. He took another sip, and once again sensed a rush of youthful energy. "Funny," he thought, "I haven't felt like this since I was a kid." The old man didn't notice his reflection in the rippling pool, but if he had, he would have been even more surprised. His face was now that of a young man. The wrinkles on his brow were gone, and his white hair turned shiny black. After taking one last drink, the man set out to look for the path home. This time he found it easily and headed back toward his house, so full of pep and vitality that he was astonished by the change. But that was nothing compared to the old woman's astonishment when her husband walked through the door. "I'm home, Grandma," he said. "I'm sorry it took so long. I lost my way." The old woman cocked her head. "And who might you be, young fellow?" she asked. "What can I do for you?" "What are you talking about? It's me." "It's you, is it? You who?" "Grandma, have you been napping again? Rub the sleep out of your eyes." "I'm awake, young man, and I've never seen you before in my life." The man was bewildered. He walked closer to his wife and said, "Grandma, it's me, your husband. Now look here, young fellow. If this is some kind of joke..." The old woman peered at the man. "Wait a minute," she said. "You're wearing Grandpa's clothes." "Of course I am. Why shouldn't I be wearing my own clothes?" "That voice, that's Grandpa's voice." "Of course it's my voice." "And that face, you look just like Grandpa when he was young. When I was..." "Young?" The man turned this over in his mind, remembering how wonderful he had been feeling since he drank from the mountain pool. Finally, shaking his head, he went to the water barrel to look at his reflection. "Oh my," he exclaimed. "Grandma, what's going on here?" "Don't ask me." The man peered at his face in the water again. "It's me, all right. How did I get so young? Wait. That pool I drank from. It must have been the fountain of youth." The man sat down on the floor with a crash. "Young!" he cried. "Ha ha, I'm young again." Suddenly he stopped laughing, jumped up and turned to his wife. "But Grandma," he said, "I don't want to be young all by myself. I'll go get some of that water for you too." He found a gourd to carry the water in, and was heading out the door when his wife stopped him. "It's late, Grandpa," she said. "Let's do it tomorrow. That'll give something else to look forward to tonight." "You don't mind waiting till morning?" "Heavens, no. If we old people know anything, it's how to be patient." "Old? Not after tomorrow." The youthful Grandpa slept deeply that night. His snores echoed throughout the house, but Grandma was so excited by the thought of becoming young again that she couldn't sleep a wink. Finally she got up and crept quietly out of the house, and by the light of the moon she set off slowly along the path her husband had told her about, the path to the fountain of youth. At dawn the man awoke alone. When he saw his wife's futon folded up beside him, he realized she'd gone to look for the pool and chuckled to himself. "Couldn't wait, eh? I guess she wants to surprise me. All right, Grandma. I'll be here waiting." To pass the time until she returned, young Grandpa fixed a leak in the roof and bustled about tending to all the other chores he hadn't been able to do before. The day wore on, but there was no sign of Grandma. By lunchtime, Grandpa began to worry. Maybe she got lost, he thought. Finally, he decided he couldn't wait any longer. Convinced that something terrible had happened to his wife, he ran up the mountain path as fast as his young legs would carry him. He'd almost reached the pool when he heard a noise and stopped. "What's that?" he wondered. "Sounds like a baby crying." He pushed on down the slope and through the brush until he came to the edge of the pool, and there he saw his wife's kimono lying on the ground. "Oh no," he cried. "Don't tell me she fell in." He ran to the kimono and was about to pick it up when he jumped back with a gasp. Inside was a little baby girl. "Grandma?" whispered the man. That's right. The old woman had been so eager to surprise her husband that she had drunk much more of the water than she needed. Much more of the water, and the fountain of youth had done its work only too well. It had turned her into an infant. The man picked his tiny wife up in his arms and carried her home. And from that day on, they say, he was as busy as a man can be, changing diapers, washing, cooking, and cleaning up after baby Grandma.